just to share a little bit of idea about Payoneer, what we do, how we function, and what we are all about. We are one of the world's largest cross-border remittance platforms, right? We are a community of entrepreneurs, and we are run by entrepreneurs. We facilitate global payments at a very, very, high level, and we have more than 4 million customers based around the world. Today, we've partnered with over 2,000 different marketplaces, whether they are service marketplaces like your Fivers and Upworks, or whether they are physical marketplaces such as Amazons and Walmarts. Irrespective of whether we also have tabs with companies like Airbnb and Google and Facebook. So we are very, very well known in the payments business. We do support over 100 different currencies on Payoneer, and our customer care is available in over 70 languages, which is a testament to how customer focused we are as a company, right? On a monthly basis, we see a little more than 250,000 people applying for Payoneer accounts, and we do offer our services in over 200 different countries. And the funny part is the United Nations, as I believe recognizes 196 countries, but we are available in over 200 different countries, helping people move money from border to border, right? So that was a little bit about us. I'll get into how we can help you and how we can make you successful towards the end of this presentation. But let's come to what is actually important in terms of the current risks that companies like yours are facing. The first, and these risks are, of course, based on the experiences that we've had dealing with our customer base over the last 3 to 6 months, and understanding what challenges they face and how we could basically provide solutions to that. So the way I see it, it's always essential that we learn from someone else's mistakes, or we learn from someone else's experiences, and then we utilize those learnings to better ourselves, better our business, and try to enumerate that into our actions. So the first thing which I've come across over the last 3 to 6 months is a liquidity crunch. There are several cases where I've seen where individuals have delayed payments, or they are unable to make salaries, or they just see a reduction in business based on their prior existing customer base. That is something which we've noticed. And the entire economy, it's not just limited to any one segment. Yes, there are some segments which are not as affected as other segments, IT being one of them. But from the whole, there has been very, very significant impact from a liquidity perspective in almost every single industry and almost every single business. The next aspect is the absence of workforce. Today, I'm giving you this presentation from home. I'm sure all of you are viewing it from your home as well. There is something which is very, very, dangerous out there, which is, preventing us from carrying on our day-to-day activities, normally. Today, working from home is the new normal, which has also impacted businesses. There are businesses such as manufacturing, right, which would need a physical worker to process that particular line of industry is no longer an option. So what do? That absence of workforce, absence of labor has created a big risk in the Indian economy, not just from a business perspective, but from an employee perspective as well, right? And the third is the question of relevance. How relevant is the product that I'm offering today in relevance with the existing times? If maybe 8 months ago you probably walked into a pharmacy asking them for a mask, that would probably the 1 or 2 masks that they sold that particular day. But today, if you see, I think the most sold product in a pharmacy is a bottle of hand sanitizer and a mask, right? So that relevance has completely changed with regards to what was relevant 3 months ago, what is relevant today, and what was relevant, let's say, 1 year ago. So these three are the primary, risks that companies and service providers face in terms of liquidity, absence of workforce, and whether they are relevant. This is a little bit of data that I'd like to share with you. It showcases the countries which are most affected by COVID, right? And how that has, in turn resulted in a very strong shift towards companies in India. A majority of IT service exports in India went to three main countries. One is the United Kingdom, United States, and the European Union. These three countries were synonymous in a majority of projects or majority of IT related activities and outsourcing, which were coming to India. And as we have already seen, these countries were the most affected, right? This could be seen in a good way and in a bad way from a business perspective. Yes, there could be a probability that the orders that you were expecting from these countries are no longer relevant. They might not come in anymore. However, having said that, the silver lining over here is that digitalization is the new norm in these countries as well. And for those Indian companies who can cater to that digitalization, have great opportunities from a revenue perspective, right? Although these countries have been affected by COVID, there is also a stronger shift towards digitalization, and that would result in umpteen opportunities for freelancers in India, small IT service companies in India, and even large IT service companies in India. Right? Coming to the next bit, is how important it is to stay relevant in today's COVID world, right? There were vulnerabilities in the economy which we could never have guessed, we could never have predicted, nor we could have ever prepared for, right? That those vulnerabilities came out, and keeping in mind with the persistence of the human spirit, we have very, very significantly and successfully overcome the challenges to the best of our abilities. Today all of us are working from home. We are trying to maintain business as usual, although there is nothing usual about what is out there right now. But we are trying, we are successful to a great extent, and we make sure that that is something that we adopt, not just from a new business perspective but from a new technology perspective. And that is something which is very, very critical to maintain change, right? They say change is always good, and the only thing that is constant is change, right? And this is something that we're all experiencing today. It does not matter if I'm a freelancer, it does not matter if I had a manufacturing company or a IT service company, or even myself as an employee of Payoneer, right? We have seen things move very, very dramatically and drastically over the last 3 to 6 months. What is very critical for businesses today is to make sure that they evolve, they change along with what is demanded of them, and that the sustainability of that change is what is very, very critical. Just to share a couple of ideas with y'all from what our experience with our customers has been over the last 3 to 6 months. Digitalization has seen a very, very strong trend. It has seen, it has grown by leaps and bounds, right from developing applications where you can communicate, via digital mediums, to making sure that, students today have access, or I should say quality access to good education, right? Sitting in the comfort of their home. Uh, right to telehealth, and how that you can probably book a doctor or schedule an appointment with a hospital online, right? Maybe get a doctor to look at you digitally, try to figure out what is the concern or the sickness that you might have, and try to provide a solution as well. One example that I'd like to share, which affected me very, very dramatically, is my general physician, right? My family doctor. He was someone who would always encourage you to come to his clinic and have a, a diagnostic session. But post COVID, we began to do everything online, and only in worst case scenarios would he give you an appointment, that too which has to be booked digitally via an app. You can come to his clinic, right? So that entire functioning of his clinic changed due to COVID. And this is just one example, one drop in a sea or an ocean of examples that we have learned, and we have come across. The second bit is, in terms of acceleration in virtual workspaces, right? Today, Courier might not be an option in many areas, especially those areas which are under containment. How do we transition from that? Do we send documents digitally? Do we make sure that people are more reciprocative to web calls, to video calling, through let's say emails? That is another transition that we've seen from an acceleration perspective. We've also come across a rampant increase in use in the Internet of Things, right? You linking the internet to your lives, and you're trying to create a more comfortable home environment or a work slash home environment with the use of Internet of Things. And then of course you have artificial learning and machine learning, using tools to help govern your business, to take better business decisions, and to figure out how you can be successful with these sources of assistance. The next bit which I wanted to speak about is on behavioral change. We've all seen this is especially from a sales model. What we've come across through our learnings over the last 3 to 6 months is that today virtual meetings, right, is now accepted as a new normal, right? I, like I mentioned previously, right, I would look at business primarily for Gujarat and Maharashtra, and every month, maybe 3 to 4 times, I would travel to Gujarat, meet my clients, see how they were doing, see how we can add value, and basically have that face-to-face interaction. Today they understand that that is no longer an option. I understand that is no longer an option, and we have transitioned to digital means of communication, such as Skype and Zoom, uh, to an extent even WhatsApp calling, if need be, right? So this graph primarily shows, and I would like special focus on India, how there has been a very strong shift from field sales to conferencing via the phone or conferencing via video. If you can see, uh, over 56% of the Indian workforce has transitioned quite successfully, I might add, towards from field sales towards working from home and digitalization. Sales, of course, and their channels through digitalization. And then you have smaller amounts of individuals who have partially transitioned. But what is critical to mention over here is that a very small amount continues with their face-to-face meetings, right? And there are some sales teams which don't really have an option. Like for example, if you take Paytm, there are several Paytm executives who constantly visit different shops, different stores, different individuals, to make sure that they have Paytm accepted as a facility, right? Those are things that of course can't be done virtually, so that probably would be a very small percentage. But a majority of Indians today have either entirely transitioned to virtual sales, or digitalization or phone conferencing, and the next percentage is on their way there, will get there maybe in the next 3 to 6 months. So that is something which we've seen has transitioned very successfully, and we are keeping up with the changing time set. I think this is something that all of you will find very interesting. These basically, this slide would talk about upcoming opportunities that you would have as a freelancer, as an agency in a post-COVID world, right? Today, we've seen several companies in countries which were very affected by COVID having an increased demand for these particular tools, and that is what I would want to share with you all. The first is in terms of e-learning. Today e-learning is something that all of us have experienced, especially if we have children at home, if we are regular in attending webinars and sessions and meetups. E-learning is something that has taken a very big it has a very big impact for us today. The second is in terms of smart payments. Today if I go to a shop, the chance that I give him my credit or debit card is extremely low, because I'm trying to avoid contact, at any given circumstance. What I would do is I would ask him if he has Paytm, if he has Google Pay, if he has Phone Pay, and I would, maintain distance, scan the QR code, and make the payment. So smarter payments is something which we are working towards as well. Of course, you have e-commerce adoption. I'm sure so many of us can relate to this. Earlier, if I wanted to pick up something from the local kirana store in terms of groceries, I would probably head there, pick up what I had to, and then come back. Today it's either via Amazon, it's via Big Basket, it's via Flipkart. We are trying to maintain a bubble around us to keep us safe from COVID. And that has resulted in e-commerce picking up very, very drastically. The next is, in terms of remote management. Today you might not be able to be at your factory or at your office. How do you manage things remotely, from a data perspective, from a video conference perspective, from a server perspective, from a security perspective? How do you do things virtually? And then of course, you need to make sure, from a data analytics perspective, you are well aware of what the situation is at the office, outside, and you want to make sure that you have the right ammunition to take an informed decision based on data. I had already given you all a brief about the Internet of Things and how that is, very rampantly changing our lives. And then you have, other smaller aspects such as data tools and virtual bots, which I think you would have come across, in banks like HDFC and ICICI. HDFC, I believe, has a bot called Eva, who helps you create FDs, or create a demat account, and a multiple host of features that they have programmed her to do, right? And they encourage people, rather than coming to the bank, let's see if we can do things online. We also have machine learning, we have secure transactions, we have secure communications, and then we have IVR, because again, travel is not really an option today. So how do you compensate for what you would do face to face? How would you compensate for that virtually, right? This is something I think will really benefit freelancers and agencies. These are companies which can help you gain projects, right? Which can help you earn revenue, earn volumes through active participation in them. Like for example, let's say you're a freelancer. You have you're great at, let's say, web development or Magento development, or WordPress development. You can always communicate your skill set on these platforms. You have platforms like Upwork and Fiverr and Vato, PeoplePara, Freelancer, where individuals who are seeking these services at a global level will come to you searching for the right party who would help them work, right? This is from a freelancing IT services perspective. If you're looking at it from a content creation perspective, and when I say content creation, I'm not talking about Instagram. From a content creation perspective, you have Shutterstock, you have Get Images, you have Stocksy. All these portals help you get your offerings, your created content to a global audience, and help you earn revenue through them as well. Let's say you're an e-commerce seller, you sell tiffin boxes, or you sell shoes from Rajasthan. You can sell on so many different portals such as Amazon, Walmart, Wish, Rakuten, Top Hatter, Lazada, and you can get your product out to a global audience. They are happy that they have access to some wonderful Indian sellers, and at the same time you have an additional source of revenue. I mean, of course, this particular business has been very, very significantly hit since COVID hit us. But nonetheless, it is quite apt from a revenue source. You can sell your inventory on, and when I say inventory, I'm talking about hotel inventory on Booking.com or Airbnb and HomeAway, and you can get additional revenues through this particular source. If you're a digital marketer, you have so many different portals such as Google and Tambola and Trader Double and Tune, where you can sell your digital marketing experience, your digital marketing products and services, and again take them through a global audience. And then of course, you have the affiliate marketing bit. What this slide basically is trying to communicate is that there are so many different marketplaces, both for services and product, where you as a freelancer can use to get your brand out there, to get your name out there, to make sure that you are building success for your business and for yourself if you are an individual. Now coming back to how Payoneer can help you when it comes to cross-border remittances. The products and services that we offer are spot on in helping you remit that money back to India. First of all is we have some fantastic marketplace integrations. I had shown you a bunch of marketplaces on the previous slide, such as Fiverr and Upwork and Amazon, right? Payoneer provides global collection accounts that you can link to each of these accounts respectively and get paid directly in USD or the local currency into those virtual accounts. thus giving you an effective means of remitting your payments at very transparent and cost effective pricing. That is, of course, from a marketplace perspective. We also provide collection accounts in USD, in GBP, in Euro, in CAD, AUD. We've recently started for Hong Kong and Singapore as well, right? So what you can do is you can sign up to Payoneer, you can get access to these accounts, you can share these bank accounts with anybody in the world from those respective countries, and they can initiate local bank transfers to you, their version of an NEFT or an RTGS. Of course, in Europe, it's called a SEPA payment, and in the UK, it's called an FPS or a fast payment service method. But from an understanding perspective, you effectively have a local bank account in these countries, which you can utilize to remit funds back to India. Yes, we do also facilitate payments via credit card, debit card, American Express card, should your client choose to make payments via those plastic mediums of money. And then finally, we do have, this is of course only for the United States, where we do support payments which are made by e-check, also known as ACH transfers from the US, where Payoneer can debit your client's account for the particular sum that you guys have decided on, and then help remit that money back to India. And if need be, we can also help you connect to a payment gateway to help you, remit the funds that you see coming in on your website or digitally into your Payoneer account. So we are a complete holistic solution provider to your cross-border payment needs. If it does not matter how you wish to remit funds, we can help you, be successful in that. We have a option which is called a request a payment as well, which sends an email out to the individual who you would like to get paid from, the payer, if you will. And this is a very structured mode of requesting a payment, where you fill in the necessary details that you wish to provide and collect from him. He gets an email which gives him a pay now option, very simple, very structured. He selects the method of payment that he wishes to make, and then the payment is on its way to you. And the beauty of this is it allows him to use a payment method which is comfortable to him or her. At the end of the day, what is important to us is that the funds come to us in a timely manner, at a transparent and cost effective manner, and the client is comfortable with the entire payment experience, right? And this is something that we offer with this particular product of ours. The primary benefits that we have, with regards to companies like yours, with regards to freelancers and agencies and small IT companies, is that we don't have any upfront fees. We make sure that our pricing is very, very crisp, very, very transparent. There are no hidden costs, there are no hidden fees, because at the end of the day, what we're working with is your finances and your trust, and those are things which are very, very sacred to us. We also offer integrated solutions, like I mentioned previously, with websites such as Upwork and Fiverr, PeoplePara, freelancer.com, Amazon, Rakuten, Lazada, Cdiscount, and so on. We even partnered with companies like Facebook, Google, and Airbnb, for remitting their payments to their customers as well. From a compliance perspective, we work with an OPGSP license, which is given by the RBI in India. Since we are present in we have offices in over 18 different countries. We have partner banks in a lot of those countries, and we are completely regular and compliant with those norms of the respective country central banks. We do offer the FIRC in India as well, especially for those who would like to claim a refund on GST or look towards your SOFTEX filing. This is a very important document from a remittance perspective. And then what is most important to us is in terms of being extremely transparent in what we can do, in what we cannot do, in what our costs are, in what our processes are. For us, transparency is one of the values on which we have been built as a company, and that is very, very critical, that there is extreme transparency between both you and Payoneer as a company, right? So I hope I was able to add value to this discussion today. I'm really looking forward to and really excited to having a good set of questions from you guys. I hope that I can and have helped you increase your scope of business and understanding where new revenue opportunities lie in what COVID is today, in what the situation is today. As a little value add from me to you, I've put in an offer for Payoneer that if you sign up using this particular QR code and you transact your first 1,000 USD through Payoneer, there would be a $50 cashback that we would give you from our side as a value add, right? So Yash, back over to you. I hope I was able to add value to the audience today, and looking forward to some great questions.
Super, yeah. So super session today, yeah. And just to, so if we can stop sharing the screen, I think that would
Sure.
so that both of us can be there at once. Yeah, just give me one.
Perfect.
Yes, I think this is better. So thank you for the. So one thing that I found, I learned a couple of things. So this is super comprehensive, right? In terms of the list and the categories of the opportunities that you mentioned in the slide. And while we had that particular slide on the screen only for anywhere between, I think, 2.5 minutes. One of the things that we'd like to do is with your permission to make it available after the session as well, so that people have a lot more time to kind of make notes and go through each one of those opportunities and evaluate, right? So I think
Absolutely.
that would be super helpful. So can we do that? Is that okay with you?
Sure. After the call, I will send it across to you. Would that work?
Yeah. So that's great. So that's one. So the other thing that I also one of the slides that you had also mentioned was that the sales are now happening virtually, right?
Right.
And so the whole process is happening, say, virtually. And so what I wanted to add to that was also the fact that we've got a session tomorrow. So the first session that we have tomorrow is by Mr. Deepak Shukla, and he is going to be taking us through the whole process of how you can digitize your sales process,
Okay.
from the physical, the previously face to face and physical process that you have to the completely virtual one. So this is for all the attendees to know that the first session tomorrow is going to be exactly about that, and so do join it. The other thing that I wanted to add was separately, we as a product are also in conversation with you guys to have a deeper
Right.
integration, so that
Right.
the 1700 1800 agencies that we have who are using the product, they are also able to use Payoneer to start getting payments from the application itself, right? So the invoice could have a
Right.
pay now button, and then the payments could come in. So in coming to the questions part, so the first question that I have from Sahil over here is okay. So he asks, how specifically can agency. So one of the things that is happening is that a lot of folks, or a lot of clients, are citing COVID-19 as one of the major reasons why they are not able to make payments, right? Because their cash flow has also suffered, and
Right.
there's a ripple effect of sorts on most agencies. Now most agencies typically work in a cash flow crunch, right?
Right.
More often than not, right? And so in those cases, when a client is not able to make the payment to you on
Mhm.
time, then that kind of effect ripples down. So
Absolutely.
when a client comes back to you saying that, hey, because of COVID-19 we are not able to make the payment to you, how do you how should an agency deal with it, and what should be their response?
So, yes, that's actually a great question. A lot of clients of mine have, come across situations like that. What I would always recommend is that, you try to figure out what he would be able to pay at that particular time, because like you mentioned, it's a ripple effect, right? It will affect your rents, it will affect your salaries, it will affect the overall functioning of your business, right?
Yeah.
So what I've seen a lot of them do is they try to break down what is owed into several bits, right? Let's say, for example, you need to take $100,000. You start by saying, all right, the first week we'll work with maybe 5 to 10, and
Yeah.
then another 2 weeks down the line, we'll take another 15 to 20, and then we'll try to break down, the revenue and its inflow. Having said that, there have been circumstances where that has also not been possible because the payers have been very, very severely hit.
Yeah.
In that case, what a lot of users of ours have done is they have tried to shift to other streams of income,
Mhm.
which might be a little more quick, like let's say taking up multiple projects on Upwork or Freelancer, which
Yeah.
ensures that they get paid
Yeah.
immediately or within certain broken milestones,
Mhm.
which help them with their overall cash flow.
Yeah. So fair to say. So I think, and just let me know if I'm summarizing it correctly. I think what you mean is that there are two core ways of going about it, right? So the first way could be where you essentially offer a payment plan to your client. You say
Absolutely.
that, hey, you were supposed to pay me $100,000 or 5,000 or $10,000. Instead of that, pay me like $1,500 a month for 3 months or 3.5 months or something to that effect, right?
Correct.
And if that's not possible, then you may want to look at other revenue opportunities where you can get paid in terms of high volume but low ticket size projects
Absolutely.
that you could take up on different platforms, like let's say Fiverr or Upwork, and so on and so forth. Awesome.
Yes.
So I think that is super helpful. So the other question that I have from Shashwat, is that if you're a team of 30 people, so once you cross a particular barrier, right? So when you're beyond 15 people or 20 people, so once you are beyond that size of company, it's very difficult for that organization to pivot, right, towards new opportunities. So to give
Correct.
you a very quick example, let's say you've been a web development agency. Now AI, ML, AR, VR, all of these are very emerging technologies. But how do you kind of navigate a host of 30 people team that you have to these new technologies which they've never kind of worked on, right? So
Absolutely.
I would love to know your thoughts on that.
Sure. So I think that's actually a great question and very, very relevant. Uh, what I would do is rather than grow horizontally, you might try to grow vertically, right? So let's say, for example, you were, like you mentioned, a web development agency, right?
Yeah.
You had direct clients which were coming in from, let's say, the United States. Why not explore other markets? Why not explore countries like Australia, like the UK, like even Africa? Africa as a continent is doing extremely well from a client perspective,
Okay.
and we see a lot of payments moving from countries like Tanzania and Mali, and even Nigeria to an extent, South Africa as well. And even the Middle East is picking up from a Dubai perspective, from an Abu Dhabi perspective, a UAE perspective, and a Saudi Arabia perspective, right? So
Mhm.
what you're doing effectively is you are using the same resources, right? You are making sure that there is no drastic change in their mindset, but you're catering to completely new markets with that same set of individuals. And then of course, depending on whether you were part of a marketplace before or not, that is also something that you can consider venturing into. But I understand what you're saying. It's not easy. In fact, it's very, very challenging given a small time frame for you to shift from even, let's say, if you're a WordPress developer and to shift to a Magento developer. it,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight, that those
Yeah.
things take time.
Yeah.
So that is
So,
basically what I would recommend.
one of the other interesting insights that I had gotten from and just to add to your answer as well, right? So one of the interesting insights that I had gotten from another session was also this, that if you're an agency that is catering to smaller businesses and SMEs, this is a great time for you to start pitching to larger organizations as well.
Hmm.
And the reason being that typically large organizations have been working with other larger agencies where obviously there are much higher margins and much higher costs. Now that those clients are becoming cost sensitive, they are looking at options that are more frugal in nature, and so they're
Absolutely.
looking at smaller. So not just in terms of the offering or the geography, but also in terms of target market, there could be a sector out there
Hmm.
that may be kind of important or
Absolutely.
helpful. uh,
Definitely, that's something that you can look at as well.
Awesome. And so then the last question that we had, just one sec. Yeah. So the last question that we had for this session was that what's been the so as part of Payoneer, which is one of the globally leading payment gateways. What are some of the emerging trends that you've seen in terms of um, you know uh, ticket sizes of transfers that happen online, right? So do
Right.
businesses and clients globally prefer to pay through a payment gateway, or do they still prefer the old school way of because one of the challenges is that businesses don't have credit cards more often than not, right?
Hmm.
And so that is mostly with individuals, and so So what are the trends that you are seeing in that domain?
So what we've seen is, and this is a product which has been tried and true for us and our existing clients, is the GPS solution or the global payment solution that we offer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you correctly mentioned, a lot of business owners might not have credit cards or might not want to use their credit cards, but they do have an existing business current account, right?
Yeah.
So rather than use a traditional mode of payment such as a wire, we provide our uh, our uh, our account holders with local collection accounts in those, in respective countries. Like say, for example, let's say he needs to collect money from somebody in the US. We will help him set up a Bank of America account or a First Century Bank account, and he can give those bank account details to his client and simply tell him, this is my local United States bank account. You can initiate a local transfer to it, right? And the beauty of it is, a lot of times, individuals might be required to go to a bank to initiate a wire, or
Hmm.
there are wire fees involved, and things might get a little complicated. But in case of local bank accounts, it's as easy as in India. You add a beneficiary to your net banking, and the
Yeah.
payment is pretty much processed, right? So it's that simple. And that, I think, has seen a significant traction over the last 3 to 6 months, where people are not ready to venture out of their homes to go to a bank if they want to initiate a wire or something like that. Plus, having said that, it's much more convenient, which is what we are all about, providing convenience not just to our customers, but to their customers as well.
As
So
well.
there's a great payment experience overall.
Oh, so that's kind of like as an agency, I have best of both worlds, right? So I have
Right.
so my customers have the comfort that they need of paying through like in net banking or online banking, whatever system that they have, and I have the analytics and the capability of recording those transactions, much like I would have if a customer were paying through a credit card. Right? So would that
Right.
be fair to say?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So I think that's the end of the questions that we have for today. And so Darrell, I'd love to thank you for coming and sharing all of these insights with us, and allowing us to share the presentation towards the end of the after the summit is over as well, for people to deep dive into
Sure.
that one particular slide. Right, it had a lot of
Yeah.
comprehensive
I'll
stuff.
share that with you, Yash.
Yeah, that would be great as well. And so a big hug from all of us at Client Joy, and all the folks who are here.